This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Morning. We're currently admiring Earth's only permanent natural satellite. That is the moon at 99.8% full. Welcome aboard, everyone. This is your very own safari, live here from the African bush. Isn't it glorious? The full moon, slowly starting to wane now. It was full yesterday, which means every day from now on it's slowly going to look less and less magnificent in the sky. It's a chilly morning here in South Africa, Djuma Game Reserve. My name is Lauren. I do have BK on camera. I can see my breath as I speak. Yes, that's how chilly it really is. We're all wrapped up nice and warm, and we must get going. We're heading to the hyena den, which is really just up ahead, because I want to try and see if we can catch Corky again, just like we did yesterday. So this is your very own live safari. You must talk to us. It's so important that you do ask questions and send in all your lovely comments. Kids all around the world, you're welcome to email us. The email address is kidssquestions@wildearth.tv, and send in anything, really, that you want to know about the environment out here. And adults, you can use the normal platforms at FC on YouTube or #WildEarth on Twitter. Very, very much. Ooh, that was bumpy. That dip is always bumpy, and it's always chilly. Cold air sinks, so we always know in the morning that when we go through the dips, it's going to be very cold, which is why we race through them, and it makes it slightly bumpy. So just an update, yesterday we had Corky at the den very, very early in the morning, and she left, and by the time we came back, Ribbon was there, which is why I want to try and see what exactly is happening. Is it a timeshare? I do not know. So as I make my way to my favourite place on Djuma, we're going to send you guys across to Eric at Ngala to say good morning.
And beyond Ngala, as you can see, we're facing in exactly the opposite direction that Lauren was. So we're watching the sun rise from a very big depression in the Timbavati River, and what Lauren was saying is absolutely true. It's much, much chillier down here than it was up on the banks. And the reason why we've come into this riverbed so early on in the morning is a little bit after game drive last night. There was reports of a carcass up a tree with 2 male leopards around it. And so we thought we had to come and investigate. By the looks of things, the carcass isn't in the tree that they said it was in. So we're just checking the area to see if maybe one of the male leopards won the fight and took the carcass off to a slightly different area. There is, however, a possibility that with the two of them fighting, there's a good chance that the carcass could have fallen to the ground and the opportunistic hyenas might have come in and stolen it. So we're just looking for any tracks and signs, and I always like to start off the morning to just sit and listen like this. So to listen to all of the birds waking up, to maybe hear the long distant call of lions calling, that might give us an idea of where they are, and might even hear these 2 leopards fighting if they still are. A couple of days ago with Barney, you saw those 2 really big male leopards that were sizing each other up. So, I mean, as they were walking side by side, they would growl at one another. I mean, so there's a few different sounds that we'd like to try and listen out for this morning. So far, just birds. A few of the spur fowls waking up at the moment. Not too much else. There's a blackback puffback I can hear calling in the background. There's a beautiful, and the tree is just perfect. I mean, look at that horizontal branch sticking out to the left. I mean, if I was a leopard, I think I would choose that one to sit and rest in. It looks There's a thorny tree, so maybe not the most ideal spot. The sky, we've got 4 empty seats, so if you can get here in the next 5 minutes, you're more than welcome to join us. But I'm very excited. I've been out and about, I think, once this week, so this is my first time since Wednesday that I'm out and looking at the reserve, so I'm very, very excited to see what it has on offer for us this morning. Owen's actually just reminded me, my name is Eric, and behind camera as always is Owen, so thanks for the reminder there, Owen. It's really nice and chilly. I mean, you can almost see there's a slight bit of mist that's starting to settle down in these colder parts, in these sort of lower parts of the river. So if I were an animal, I would be out in these big open clearings trying to get as much sun as we possibly can. So I think what Owen and myself are going to do is do that, head towards those open areas and see if we can find any animals enjoying the morning sunlight.
Not a single soul at the den. Not one single hyena. Maybe we're too early. It's still very cold, as I've mentioned quite a few times. If I was an animal, I would be a reptile of some sorts. Spend all my day lying, sprawled out, catching the rays of the sun. Now, we have some impala up ahead. We'll stop and say hello. There was a big wet patch of urine, very, very fresh looking. So someone has been at the hyena den and someone has, well, released their bladder. But no one is there, which means we can't stay. Hello, everybody. This is probably the same herd that were, shall we say, overreacting at the sight of Ribbon yesterday. Very upset. They only just realized she was there. She had been there the whole time. It's all males, I think. I think we have a bachelor herd here. All the males are friends again, of course. Now, I actually have something in my car that I'm going to show you. Bear with me, okay? I found this on Drive the other day, and I thought I'd pick it up because what it allows us to do is actually take a closer look at the impala horns. I'm not entirely sure how to hold this. Let's try this. Okay, I found it on Drive. See, this is what I would look like with a pair of horns. I know. Now, it's not too pleasant. It's relatively fresh, I think. But what this does is give us a really, really good view of what the horns are. So here is bone. Really, really hard bone. That's the top of, well, the impala skeleton, I guess. The top of the head. And in here, just going to get my porky pointer in action, is a really, really thick layer of skin. And that's where the hair comes out. You see that? So it goes from bone to very, very thick skin. And then over here, you can see the bone extends all the way up. Now, impala horns are made from bone. They're not antlers that you get on deer. The bone goes all the way up to the top. And this is why if an impala does break its horn or it snaps or there's some sort of injury, they don't regrow. You can see impala with one horn or a bent horn. Oh, Bill, you're saying this is very cool. Yes, I thought so. Now, Beaky, if we just look closer at the actual keratin covering the horn, you can see that it's ridged. Now, what that means is that the bone is protected. It's protected by layer upon layer of keratin, just like a tortoise's shell, just like our fingernails. Keratin is everywhere in the animal kingdom. It's a protein, and it's ridged like this in order to lock horns, so the males can lock horns with one another, and that's why there's ridges. But the entire shape of the horn is lyre shape. That's what we used when we talk about impala horns. I'm glad this came in handy because it's been sitting in my vehicle smelling quite badly for the past few days. Okay, we're going to head west now since the hyenas were not there. And as we do that, we're going to send you across to James to say good morning.
And welcome to Monday morning here in the Great Limpopo Transfrontier Park. My name is James HENDRY. David is on camera. It's lovely to be with you today. It's a chilly morning. It's not abominably cold, but it's fairly chilly. We are going towards the east to see if we can find some tracks of the Nkuhuma Pride or Tundi the Leopardess. There were some buffalo around here yesterday, and we were wondering if perhaps the Nkuhuma Pride didn't set upon them at some stage during the night. And hopefully we'll be able to find that out fairly soon. Please do talk to us, of course, using the hashtag WildEarth or the chat stream on YouTube or Twitch. Alternatively, if you are a youngster, you can send us an email to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. So we just wanted to check. The herd of buffalo sort of started meandering up towards that direction yesterday evening. The lions were in here yesterday evening. So maybe they met on the northeast corner at Buffelshoek and had a little tete-a-tete there. And so to the east we shall go.
Good morning and welcome to Pridelands, here part of Baluli Game Reserve in the Great Kruger National Park. So we're looking at a beautiful vulture that's just perched up at the top of a dead tree, and then of course the moon is about to set, and we are waiting patiently, hoping that we can get the two aligned. Isn't that gorgeous? So we'll have to be very, very patient. My name is TAYLA, and on camera with me today is Gert. And like I said, we are broadcasting to you live from the middle of the Greater Kruger, which is really awesome. So we've been just sitting, waiting for this vulture and moon sighting to sort of work, but then we are also in the area where there could potentially be some leopards. Now, for those of you that are wondering, why is there a vulture sat up in a tree? Doesn't that normally mean that there's a kill around? Not necessarily. There were actually about 3 of them just roosting up here. Maybe there is something around, but they could have also just settled in for the evening. They don't spend the whole night flying around. They do have to perch and roost, and when you've got big wings like a vulture, it becomes quite difficult to roost in a tree that's filled with leaves. So these dead trees make for the perfect spot to wait until the sun rises. But this is a whiteback vulture, and the other 2 also look like whiteback vultures, although they didn't stick around for very long. But it's the most common species of vulture that we see in this area. Don't fly yet, bird. It wants to fly, but we're not far off getting the perfect shot. But we will see. We won't be able to move too much further forward because I think we will startle it. Megan, I'm glad that you enjoy vultures. They're very misunderstood creatures, just like hyenas. They've always been sort of tarnished with negative connotations. But anyways, we're trying to rectify all these things as you watch these live safaris, and we tell you about the amazing things that they can do. And without vultures, goodness, there'd be a lot of disease and bacteria around carcasses and things like that. So they're very important as part of the cleanup crew, the ecosystem. Of course, it's not just them, but the jackals and the hyenas and carrion beetles and all sorts of other wonderful things that help get rid of all the putrid carcasses. And today is not our day. There goes the vulture flying off behind the tree. Well, that's a pity. I thought that we were going to maybe get that shot. Perhaps we'll just have to settle for something else. Maybe the moon setting behind Drakensberg Mountain, but we'll carry on and see what else we can find. But there is a female leopard and a cub that are in this area. So we will try our luck around here. Right, off you go across to the east to Pinder Private Game Reserve.
Good morning, everyone. This is Dumi from and Beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. We are here this morning trying to find some cheetah. As we already searched some other places. Have you ever seen any? Okay, so, all right. So we're trying to find this cheetah, see if we can find them. There's some impala hanging around. Let's hope something coming. Beautiful sun's coming up. So, I see the impala. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I can see the impala looking. I'm not sure what she's looking up to. Nah. Let's listen and see if there's any lamb calling. See, it's just separate from the rest. I don't know why. She's just all by herself, but now she's looking at us. Maybe she's not too sure what's happening around. It should be a lamb, but the others is pretty relaxed. Wow. Yeah. Because normally when they're standing like that, maybe they pick up a sense of predators around. Because I wonder why. Nah, she's just feeding now. Well, we'll carry on and searching around. Whatever comes, we take it. But yeah, we're expecting to find this cheetah this morning. It's nice and cooler. Very good for them to hunt. As you know, they don't like the heat that much. So, looks a bit overcasting for now. I'm not sure how long it's going to last. Oh, look at them. Some of them are chasing each other. No, nothing really. The others, maybe it's the male chasing the female. Nothing serious that's happening there. Most of them grazing. So, just listening, see if any lamb calling or anything. So far, it's quiet. Well, let's come have a look around and see if there's anything or tracks or anything around. So lovely this morning. So we're hoping to come across in a lucky morning. So see if anything hunt. Yeah. Awesome morning. Okay, guys, we'll keep moving around. So as we're moving around, we'll see if we can find, but we'll send it across to Roland into the watering hole. Enjoy the guys.
Yes, your TV or your laptop or your iPhone is not upside down. We're looking at the reflection in Treehouse Dam. Isn't that beautiful? It was a lot stiller than this, possibly clearer. But there's a hippopotamus in the water. There we go. BK, he's up. That keeps disturbing our picture. We haven't seen a hippo. Well, I personally haven't seen a hippo in Treehouse in quite some time. It possibly comes and goes. But it's been a while since I've spotted a hippo here. Now, there's still enough water. The body of water itself is still large enough. The volume of water is still sort of, the level is high enough for a hippo. I wonder where he's been, and I wonder where he goes. It's most likely a male. Males don't really enjoy being around other males. But when it comes to looking for a lady, he's going to have to change his tactic. It's cold. Can you imagine being in the water right now? But most likely the reason he's submerging so much, we're not seeing his face, is because when you're in water, humans particularly lose body heat very, very rapidly when we're submerged in water. But hippos have evolved, they've got a big fat layer under their skin, which helps insulate the body. And it's probably warmer to be under the water right now than it is to be above the water. The air is nippy, the air is frosty, there's a slight breeze. Wind chill when you're wet is not pleasant, trust me. I think he's quite happy staying under, and he's actually warmer. He's definitely watching us. Yep, it's definitely warmer underneath. The reason he's keeping his ears out, I think, is because we're here. And he wants to listen to make sure that we're not heading in his direction. We're not a threat. He's listening to us. Many of your comments on the big personalities that the hippos here have, I agree. Especially Dewey. They have big personalities. We get to know our hippos quite well. Please check in our position again. We're still here. Taking in some air into those large nostrils. I have no idea what that was. Nancy, you're saying peekaboo. Yes. I think he thinks we can't see him. We should probably go along with it. But of course we can. Charlotte, you're wondering about baby hippos. And will they follow their mum? Absolutely. The baby hippos, the calves, really don't stray too far from mum. So when mum first gives birth, in the water, but shallower water, mum and calf tend to have a baby moon. They spend about 2 weeks completely separated from any other hippos. And this is just like most mothers, even hyenas, they keep their young stashed at a natal den. It's a similar concept to make sure mom and baby bond. Baby's getting fed. Baby's getting a little bit stronger. 2 weeks is a long time in the animal kingdom. And then the young will be introduced to the rest of the bloat or the pod. So yes, at night time, baby will really not stray too far from mum. Mum is the protector. And mum will be very large in the world of hippos. A very large female that you probably don't want to, well, bump into in the dark, that's for sure. I feel like there's 3 moons in this image. No, it's just a speckle of dirt on my monitor. There's only 2. I apologize. Okay, so we're going to bumble south and see if we can see signs of anybody crossing in, or hopefully not anybody crossing out. And as we do that, we're going to send you over to a beautiful view of the sunrise.
We thought it would be best for us to warm up as quickly as we could to drive straight into the sun. And so that's exactly what we're doing. And if you look around us, we're in this very dense vegetation here. And I mean, it's really, really good habitat for leopard to remain hidden and to move around secretively, just as they like to do. So we've come onto the road that's closest to the river on the southern bank. and we're looking for any sign of either of these males. I would imagine, if it was a close matchup and there was a rivalry, you would have to think that the dominant one of the two would have wanted to declare his territory, and so he would have probably tried to scent mark as much as he could. And the way that they do that is by getting onto a nice big open area like a game path, or in this case a road, and they'll walk along it and they'll spray. And I would imagine that they'll probably, especially in the area of where they had that little confrontation, they would spray every few meters, and then slowly but surely start lengthening out the distances as they spray. So we haven't seen too much. I mean, we are going to cross the river and head out to one of the most beautiful open areas that we do have on the reserve, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of general game species that we might be able to see there in the next few minutes. But if we don't see anything, then there's that waterhole that's behind us now. We'll loop around to see if either of them decided to go and have something to drink. And if there's nothing around that waterhole, then we might just start heading back down towards the river and start focusing, almost working from where we are and start working out until we hopefully find some sort of tracks or signs of them. It is really nice to drive into the sun at this time of morning, because the shadow of your vehicle doesn't obstruct the tracks. But always worth, I'm sure you've seen it being done 1,000 times. Every single time you get to a nice junction like this is just to take a moment to look on the ground and look for any tracks of the animals that we're hoping to see. Sure. Dylan, you're asking how long it took me to differentiate between a lion and a leopard track, and it took quite a while, Dylan. I mean, the trick is to look at the size. And lions have got a much bigger track than a leopard does. I mean, the small cubs of the pride that we see around this area have probably got the same size tracks as a adult leopard, or at least a female. And so once you start realizing the size difference, you can kind of catch on to it quite quickly. But the shape is pretty much exactly the same. They're part of the same family, and so they've got quite a lot of things in common with regards to the tracks. And so once you start getting used to it and start driving around the area and seeing these tracks on a daily basis, it becomes a lot easier for you to start noticing the differences. But for a leopard, quite a few things that you could confuse it by. I mean, sometimes if two impalas walk next to one another, it almost creates toe-like things at the back of their pads, and that can sometimes look a little bit like a leopard track. Hyena tracks, if you don't look at them properly, can sometimes confuse you. So you have to look at the soil type, and I guess sometimes the behavior of what the tracks are doing. If you can interpret that, might help indicate what animal it is. With prides, or at least lions, at least if they're with a pride, there'll be more than one track, whereas leopards are usually solitary. So you'll see one track going up the road if it's a leopard. If it's a big pride, you might see sometimes up to 20 different sets of tracks. So we might just briefly stop and listen in this area. So it's not too long before we start turning back towards the waterhole. And if myself and Owen, see something, I'm sure we'll see you soon.
Not much going on at any waterhole that I can see at the moment, on account of the fact that, well, it's very cold and I don't think anything's particularly thirsty right now. I can't even see an Egyptian goose. Oh, there's the green-backed heron, David. Do you see it? Now, I don't know where these lions have gone. We've driven the block, assuming that they would have come out sometime during the night. And they may have across the concrete causeway. Maybe that's where I've missed them. But they haven't made any obvious move from yesterday evening. Anyway, we'll keep looking around. It's not like we've seen anything else either, except one very miserable-looking green-backed heron who is hunched over, hoping to warm up a bit as he catches some early rays. It's pretty cold today, I must say. I think it's probably around 8 degrees. The delightful trumpeting call of the Egyptian goose. Followed by the rasping of the Egyptian goose. Looks like he may have eaten something that didn't agree with him. He's quite comfortable there. Charlotte, I don't think you'd be very well if you drank from this water. The problem with this water is that everything that lives in it tends to go to the loo in it as well. So lots and lots of terrapins, which are pretty foul at the best of times, hippopotamus, all of the water birds, they all defecate in the water. There's a lot of algae from all those nutrients. There are decades worth of fish corpses and frog corpses in the mud underneath that are producing nutrients from that mud. So, yeah, I think you'd get pretty sick. I mean, whether it would kill you or not, I doubt it would kill you, but I think that you would probably be fairly productive from both ends of your alimentary canal. You can filter it. I mean, Steph used to filter it through his sock and then drink it, which is just all kinds of disgusting. And he never seemed to get sick, but I know that when we went to the Mara, to Kenya, Steph couldn't understand why no one would drink out of the taps, and because we all tried drinking out of the taps, and, you know, our days became fairly unproductive the next day on account of the amount of time we had to spend in the ablution facilities. But, you know, so it kind of depends on your constitution. Some people are able to cope with this sort of thing and some aren't. And I think you get used to it. You know, if you had to drink water like this, you probably could get away with it if you had to. You'd be sick a few times, maybe a couple of weeks, and then I suspect you'd probably get used to it and you'd be able to drink it. I often use the example of travelling and how if you go to a place distinct from where you're at home, you'll often get sick from the water there, and till you get used to it. The locals don't have any problem with it, and you wouldn't after a while.
We must find a name for this little guy. The most gorgeous, most relaxed little duiker I have ever seen. Now, BK's gonna zoom into his horns once he faces us. It's definitely the same one that baffled us for so long. So there's always a tuft of hair in the middle, but the reason this one looks so baffling is because something's wrong with its left horn. I can't see if it's snapped or if it's just bent backwards. What's wrong with your horn? I think it's bent. You see that? We really need him to turn. He's walking right to the car. Oh my goodness. He's so brave. Hello. Oh, okay. We did really well there, BK. Now, we're not going to have good views now at all, but you can see how easily they blend in little duikers. It's really, really comfortable around the vehicle, which is just surprising. Normally they dive away, which is exactly where they get their name from. The word dike or dake, probably not pronouncing it the best way, is Afrikaans, and it means to duck or to dive, and that's where diker comes from. If any Afrikaans people are watching, I apologise if my pronunciation of that word was really terrible. Now, the monkey stole one of my gloves, so I'm having a bit of a difficult morning with my right hand. Yes, BK says, why don't you put your gloves on? I said, well, the vervet monkeys are wearing them. I can just imagine one monkey walking about with one of my gloves. So yes, I'm one-handed. Left hand is warm though, so we're all good. Mindy, you're saying what beautiful eyes. I know, Mindy, duikers are gorgeous. I'm having very good sightings with these small antelopes recently. We have a gorgeous steenbok yesterday too. We always try to put them on the camera for you. They just are not always obliging. So I'm just going to do one loop, go back to the hyena den, stay there if someone's there. If no one's there, then I'm going to do another loop in the opposite direction. It's all about the loops this morning. Okay, I'm going to now do my first loop, but it seems like Pinda have located a big cat.
Welcome back, guys. As you can see right in front of us, we have a beautiful, beautiful male lion. We've been looking for cheetah. Luckily, we come across this beautiful male lion. As you can see, he's just walking across. He looks like he's up on the mission, trying to find the rest of the pride. We have some tracks as well, so let's hope he's going to find him. Yeah, it's lovely morning. Lucky morning, eh? How cool is that? So we're trying to stick with him, see what he's up to, because it might be anything. Could be hunting or trying to find the rest of the pride. So we're hoping to see some action. We're going to try to move around. Yeah, Megan, that's a little bit fight with his brother, because as you can see, he's separated from his brother. Sometimes when they come across again to meet each other, they could be like a little bit fight if maybe his brother busy with the female. So yeah, but his eyes okay. He's not broken. Let's try to stick with him. If you see what he's doing, he was just marking his territory here, marking on this tree. Every single tree that he walk past on a game trail, he will leave his markings. Make sure that he is placed. As you can see, like that way he's walking, he's following the game. It's like an old game trail. He's using his boundary as well. Most of the cat does sort of kind of thing. Whenever they walk along there, even they can use the road as a boundary, keep on scent marking. He might scent mark again. If you find like a nice tree, that's what he think he can leave his marking there. But yes, lovely male lion, yeah. Especially if you look in his mane, it's quite dark, which is awesome to see that. To see male lion is walking like that in the morning is the best morning. Yeah, Layla. Yes, you can smell, but it's not as strong as a leopard. Leopard get a very strong sense, but lion is very kind of as leopard, but not quite. Yes, Layla. Yeah, we're trying to stick with him and see how far he goes. Let's hope we'll be still together without losing us. Yeah, I love the way he moves. And look his shoulders. It's lovely, the mane. And look the way he's walking through between the trees. It is my favorite animal. You can see the way he's walking, keep on looking opposite direction. Oh, none of you. Oh, there's a cup of war. Did you see that? Yeah, that's amazing. Yes. Yeah. Okay, guys, well, looks like we're going through to the quite thick bushes there, but we're trying to stick with the male lion. While we still trying to find him, because we lose him, we'll send it across to Eric. Just enjoy there.
Fantastic morning as always with Dumi and a few lions, which is great. I hope he gets to catch up to them. Always, I find the most interesting thing is to follow these big cats moving through the bushes, especially because we see them sleeping most of the time. So to see how they move around and operate between a few different members of the pride is really quite fascinating. And I could sit and watch lions moving, well, for as long as they move, I guess. And what we've been noticing recently is how far the pride of lions that we see around Ngala has been moving on a nightly basis. And I think it's got a lot to do with probably the drying up of a few water holes, which makes the animals move further distances. So if they're looking to hunt, they have to walk quite a long way. And then I think it's also just nice and cool. So they're taking the opportunity to move and not really worry too much about cooling themselves down too much. We still haven't seen too many signs of these leopards that we're looking for. We have definitely not given up yet. We are just going to start making our way back down towards the river before we head towards that nice big waterhole to see what's going on. Lots of noisy little birds around here. The crested francolins are actually, we might be able to see them. They're calling in the grass here. See, there we go. Yeah. It seems like there's probably a few different families that are calling. And just as we get close to it, they move into the bushes. But there is another one calling on the right-hand side. Also, I find, it's just one of those things that they're a bird that we see. Have you got it? Oh, cool. And because we see it so often, we tend to overlook them, but they've got beautiful patternings and stripes on their chest and on their backs. We look at it and we might think it's just a brown little bird running through the grass, but they really are quite colourful. Shame. They've all gone now. Okay. There you go. Calling, lifting up its head like that. So let me show you. You might not have been able to see it as well. But we can sometimes use these francolins and these spur fowls to help us when we're looking for these predators. I mean, if it's this late on in the morning and they're perched up on the trees, shouting and alarm calling, we might have to pay close attention to what's happening on the ground below them. I mean, just the other day we managed to track down a female leopard, and we lost her. We couldn't see her anymore, and we were driving through the bushes, and then we just heard this explosion of Swainson's spur fowls coming from the bushes about 30 meters away from us. And we drove around, and lo and behold, there was that little leopard staring, looking at us in the grass. And we probably would never have found it again if it hadn't been for these little spur fowls. It seems like they're going to disappear into the grass. We might be able to, I mean, like I said, it's a very common bird, so hopefully we'll be able to show you one or two more, but I think I'm going to keep on driving, see if we can get to the river. Lottie, you say that the francolins are the most iconic sound, and I agree with you. It's really not quite the bushfire if you don't wake up here listening to the Swainsons and the crested francolins calling. One bird also that I find is quite iconic is greater blue-eared starlings, if you've ever heard them before. If you've ever been in the campsites of the Kruger National Park, especially from, I guess, Shingwetsi north, they are around pretty much every campsite, and you hear them calling throughout the whole day. They come and look for little scraps around the campfires. So that for me is also a very, very iconic bird in this area. We've really been enjoying quite a lot of bird life around the camps, and we don't know if it's because of the camps being quite quiet without so many people around them, but we've just been seeing some amazing birds. We've seen flocks and flocks of birds coming through our homes looking for little termites and insects that are in the Mopani Veld of the north of the reserve. So we've seen Retz's helmet shrikes. We've had some beautiful views of them. Oof. I saw the rear end of an impala out the corner of my eye, and it was perfectly framed like the mane of a male lion. So my heart skipped a beat. Yeah. So this is the male lion looking impala. I'm sure you will all agree with me. But he seems to be enjoying the morning light. He's not really moving around, and just look at how fragile it looks. It looks like those back legs have been put to work a lot recently. I mean, his coat, see if we can see any recent cuts and scars from maybe some fighting that he's been up to recently. You look very, very closely around his hip, you can see the hip starting to stick out. And there's one or two little scuff marks on the exact place where it changes color from dark brown to light brown. So that could be from scarring from when he was defending his herd. I mean, they pretty much stopped rutting completely now. So we've been seeing more and more males together. We do see them, one or two. Leanne, you're saying, oh dear, what a pretty impala. That pun would have been so much better if it actually was a deer. It's actually an antelope. Sorry to ruin your day. See, so it picked up its head and it looked left. So I thought it might have heard an alarm call, but it might have just lifted up a head, heard a noise, and then moved off. So I think whilst we carry on moving, we'll send you across to James to see what he's got for you.
We have found two vultures, and these two vultures are sitting in dead trees, obviously. and I'm wondering if it isn't because of the lions. Now, we've recircled the same block that we did start with to make sure that we weren't being idiots. I'm pretty sure we weren't. And so I think the lions are still in here. And so now we're cutting up the middle of the block through the Umlalamati River. And hopefully we'll come across some lion tracks, or better still, some lions. For those vultures to have seen something from the air this morning and then landed there. But sometimes you'll find vultures tracking lions of a day, and you know, it's possible that they are looking down at the pride. Let us continue along here. Oops, along the riverbed. No, Neva, it's very seldom that you would have an accident between a car and an animal on a safari, unless the person driving the car was a moron, in which case it is possible. It does happen in places like the Mara Triangle, for example. In the Mara Triangle, you know, the road through the triangle is a public road. So people coming into the park are supposed to drive with due care and respect, but sometimes don't. And so during the migration, you do find dead wildebeest sometimes on the side of the road that have unquestionably been knocked over by a car. You know, there are four vultures there. Something is definitely going on in here. Let's drive a little bit further and then we'll come and cut up through this part of the block. But here, no, wouldn't happen here. The only time that you'd have kind of a conflict between a vehicle and an animal is if the animal took displeasure at the vehicle and charged it, and the vehicle couldn't get out of the way in time. But no, accidents very seldom. You have to try quite hard to have an accident with a wild animal out here. So, yesterday, the lions, that is, were, who were they? They were quite a lot further along and up. Just in there, actually, where that Nyala bull is. Lion. There certainly don't seem to be any more tracks here. He doesn't look particularly relaxed, I would say. The thing with vultures also, and it's important, that's why he doesn't look relaxed, he saw a duiker. The thing with vultures, and this is important, is that their eyes are fantastic. And they like to sit in dead trees. So if there's a dead tree, even relatively close to where the kill is, they'll sit there. Bill, this river's not wide at all. In fact, calling it a river is to give it a compliment it probably doesn't deserve. It's a dry stream that flows after heavy rainfall. Two nice duiker sightings in one day. Okay, I think let's move on. Catch those lions before they go totally to sleep. Although if they've killed something, chances are they're asleep already. Maybe the youngsters will still be awake. So this is kind of where we found them yesterday, just up top there. Just want to make sure they aren't over there. Eric was also following up on some bird calls, I believe, so let's get back to him.
No birds for you just yet from our last segment, but I mean the cool thing about being so close to the river is with the dense vegetation, there's lots of cool little birds that we get to find. And I mean, I've been trying as one of my little challenges to try and show you some views of either a grey-headed or an orange-breasted bushshrike, and it's proving to be a lot more challenging than I initially thought, but I haven't given up yet. And I think that the easiest and the best way to do it is to be live like this and hear it calling. And once we hear it calling, then there's a good chance that we'll be able to find it. These little birds are so busy sometimes that you might have it, a nice view of it, and then it's disappeared in 10 seconds. So keeping an ear out for that. They've got some very, very distinctive calls. I mean, the orange-breasted bushshrike is also one of those birds that you associate with the bush a lot. And then the grey-headed bushshrike has got quite an eerie whistle call. So that would be very cool to see live. We're starting to get back into the area of where the carcass was seen last night. So opposite to us on the other side of the river now. But we are in between the waterhole and where the carcass was. So you never know. There could have been some movement of those leopards going back up towards that waterhole. We'll definitely see if we can find any tracks or signs. The ground here is very rocky, so the chances of us seeing tracks is quite slim. So I'm just going to pick up the pace a little bit and just try and get some distance. See if we can get to the waterhole nice and quickly. Deborah, I mean, sometimes we'll be able to hear the predator calling, so we're not only using the tracks and the alarm calls, and that's that's some of the ways how we use to find them. But then a lot of the time, if we don't have tracks and we don't have alarm calls, or we can't hear the predators, we go back on their general habits and their behaviors. And so once you start spending time with these animals, you get to understand how they move. And if you don't find tracks and you don't know where to start, you can at least put yourself in the right places that these animals can move around towards. So that's why this leopard, we know, okay, these leopards, last night there's a chance that they could have fought. The carcass has been lost. After a carcass, what happens? Sometimes they either will, I guess, mark their territories if they've been fighting, or they'll probably go and have something to drink. And so that's why, I mean, we're going to pretty much the only water source that there is around the area, at least the closest one to the carcass. And so once you start understanding their behavior, it becomes easier to narrow down the areas that these animals might be in. One of the things that I've enjoyed most in the last while is spending time figuring out the movement of specifically lions and leopards. We get to track them and try and find them. And we've been doing it for the last 2 months or so. And just as you think you're getting the hang of it and you're starting to work up and get to the point where you can get on tracks, especially of lions, and find them, they throw you into the deep end and they completely change what they were doing. Looked like something was lying down there. I think it might have been a hyena or something. So we're probably about 10, 15 minutes away from this waterhole, and I'm sure if we see something, we'll be with you shortly.
Welcome back, guys. We just lost our man live. We're trying to relocate him again. As you can see, we're trying to keep up a little bit before we lose him. As you can see here, it's much dense. He just moved across, so we'll stay on this road. We hope he's gonna come across. Please stay with us. Yeah, this is a bit more dense here. Let's hope he come across before it gets the ticket again. So this is a road we. He's about 7 years old, around 7 years old, and he's one of a part of the mountain pride. Tree, and also he to look the mountain pride around this area, but it's more in a Bayala. I hope he's going to come further up there, because we lost him somewhere around this place. So we're going to see if it's in it. Keep an eye on more into our left to this woodland. As you can see how thick it is. No, but we'll keep searching. Enjoy the guys.
Sorry about that. Don't quite know what happened to Doomy there. I am sure he will be back with us very shortly. And Pala's on my right and Pala's on my left. Just making sure everybody's nice and relaxed. Cold? Mm-hmm. I feel you. Nobody's alert. We went to Chitwa and there's not a single soul. I think everybody's still sleeping in their lovely little burrows and blankets of dry grass. So we are heading back to the hyena den. I think it's been enough time now. I don't want to keep driving there when the cubs are inside and there's no adults. I think 3 times in 3 hours is enough, once per hour. So I'm heading back there now and hopefully there'll be some activity. If there's not, it makes me think that the adults could be onto something. When you don't see the adults there, it's highly likely that they're waiting patiently on a leopard's kill to magically fall out the tree with the force of gravity and land on the ground into their jaws. It could be a sign that they're waiting or they're trying to scavenge. The hyenas here do far more scavenging than they do hunting. I think they hunt the small things. Michael! I wonder if that is you, Mr. Fleetwood, or another Michael. I'm not sure, but it's highly entertaining. You said you feel like the diker we saw looks like a hyena cub. I think you're going crazy. No, I see what you mean. Facially, it does. Maybe it's a hyena cub disguising itself as a diker, and that's why it's so familiar with the car. I completely see what you mean. You're not crazy at all. But that almost at Twin Dams. Let's get up and just take a look at Twin Dams. See anybody's around? I think my fingers on my right hand have completely stopped working. Now here we are. And I think this is a good time to actually show you. On our right, we have the main water body. This is what we call Twin Dams. when we mention this dam, this is what we're referring to. And this time last year, I'm sure this was almost empty. And it's still really, really full. And this is why we're not seeing the sort of predators congregate at the one water hole, because water is still plentiful. This is the other half of Twin Dam that I called Lawrence Pan. And you can see there's still a lot of water in that body as well. It's smaller, much smaller. But still, water is plentiful. The harshness of winter that we normally experience really hasn't hit yet. Some of the pans, the smaller pans, are also still full. And this means that really water is available. Because normally in the sort of real clutches of winter, you will see the predators congregate at the man-made water bodies. Okay, so I'm not the only one at a water body this morning, and it appears like Eric is also headed to water, and there's lots of birds.
We have indeed found some water. This is the water hole that I've been threatening to take you to the whole morning. We finally got here. Not too much in terms of mammal life going on, but we've been chatting about a few birds that we've been seeing recently. And one bird that is also very iconic to the African bushes is the bird that's perched at the very, very top of that tree over there. You might be able to start to see some of the colors by now. So that very, very distinctive white head and the dark body is the African fish eagle. And it might, I'm sure it would have roosted very close by. We actually think that there could be a nest somewhere close by, which would be very exciting for us. We've been seeing an immature eagle flying around these parts recently. We've been also seeing a pair together. And there's one or two very big leadwoods around this area that I'm sure would be perfect nesting spots for them. And so it wouldn't have moved too far, maybe in this early morning, come towards this perch to just see if it can find any fish for it to catch. But otherwise, lots of other bird species. And you see straight ahead of us, there's two birds that are here on the branches. I just want to try and get my head out the way. And it looks like they're also coming down towards the water to drink. And very, very beautiful, so much smaller. And just look at those colors. That beautiful yellow. Okay, so we'll stick around here, but let's send you quickly to Tswalu.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry we couldn't join you yesterday. Chandra and Dylan here at Tswalu Kalahari. We're on the way to the meerkats, and we get 4 cheetah. 4 cheetah. It's 3 cubs or 4 cubs. Anyway, there's 4 or 5 cheetah over here. This is amazing. It seems to be, I think it's a mother with 4 cubs. I think. I could only see 3, but I think there's actually 4 in this group cubs. So potentially like 5 cheetah here. This is like, I couldn't believe it. And this is, from where the meerkats are, this is probably 300 meters away. So we actually just pulled the vehicle over onto the side of the road over here. And look, yes. I'm quite like speechless now because I didn't even know what to say. Yes, this is just like all my Christmases again. And we're still far from them, and we won't get closer there. They're about 300 meters from us. But and to put it in perspective, I don't even know who this female is. I have no idea who this female is. But the fact that they're not running from us and we're actually out the vehicle over here is really, really, really interesting. And this is super close to where we have followed that female with the 2 cubs the other day. So I'm guessing, when we're looking at the Xhosa meerkats, I'm guessing that this is the same group of 5 that we actually got trotting away from that site when we walked in early one morning. We just had a super, super fast glimpse of them. Yes, I can't believe this. I think that's Mom right at the back. Yeah, there's the others coming across from the left-hand side now. You got them there, Chandra? Unbelievable. Okay, so there's at least, there's 5 here. So it's got to be a female with 4 big youngsters. Unreal. I love these moments. I absolutely love these moments. Butterflies asked, will these cheetah be going for the meerkats? They won't. There's no ways that these cheetah will be going for the meerkats. At this time of day, the meerkats, I think, would only have just got out of the burrow. That's based on what we've been seeing over the past couple of weeks. And also the energy that it would take for a cheetah to try go after and catch a meerkat. It's not going to happen. It could be that you can get if the meerkat's already out foraging, and cheetah bump them in a big open area, they would probably try for them, but it's not really on their menu normally. Yeah, I can't believe this. 5 cheetah in the morning. Oh, this is just... Yeah. Amanda says this is awesome. No, trust me, this is incredible. I'm just... And this is one amazing thing that I love about this area. Staff here has just asked, how fast would it take them to run from where they are to where we are here? They would probably 6 seconds. I'm guessing somewhere around there. It would be super, super fast. But what I will do, I will trip Jandre and I will get back to the vehicle so I can get help if necessary. It's just, you've got to do these things sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. Jandre will probably trip me. But the amazing thing that, this is one thing that never ceases to amaze me, Acha, is the fact that we can go out every single day and there's certain, there's known groups, ones that are really habituated that we follow. And then you just get these groups rocking up. I don't know who this is. And that, for me, is probably the single most exciting thing, that you've always got this element of surprise. Yeah, see, I can't believe this, man. I think, we're just going to spend a little bit more time with these cheetahs, because I just really want to, I think they're heading down to the dam, but I just want to make sure of that. And then, yes, they're running and playing. And then after this, I'm going to head up back towards the meerkats and wait for them to get up. Wow.
I thought these golden-breasted buntings were on their way to the water to have something to drink, but they haven't moved. And so I think they're doing exactly what we're doing, and just enjoying some of the sun. And those colors are really popping in this morning light. Hey, at least we got to see it before it flew away. There's one more. So they're just so contrasting between those yellows and the goldens on the breast and then the black and white streaks on the head. Really are quite a stunning little bird. There's actually quite a lot of own. So if you see the bunting that you're on, if you go down to the right, I think they've actually just flown away. I saw out of the corner of my eye, it looked like a little firefinch, which would have been a very, very cool one to see. Another one that's very busy, so quite difficult to get on camera. They spend a lot of time hopping around, and this bush in particular is a really good one for them to use, because there's one there. Just flew away. But I don't know if you saw it had a... There we go, if you zoom in there. You on it? More to the right? There. Dead center there. So there's actually 2 of them. Megan, there certainly is a lot of bird species available, and this is one of the things that I really, really like about these live safaris. Is I know that you've seen lions this morning with Dumi. You've just come back from Tswalu Kalahari, where you with cheetah, and so I feel like the pressure for me to find these big hairies and scaries is off, and we get to focus on some of these smaller, interesting birds that we might not get the chance to see very often. And these ones are quite tricky to identify, but they do have red around them, and they've got that red bill, but they're overall very, very brown. And so these are female firefinches. And just because of that red bill, I would say that they're red-billed firefinches. The males are much more distinct. They're pretty pink and red. They've even got little white spots on their sides. Let me see. It is definitely one of those birds you need to... Shadulu, you say that you've only seen one firefinch. I'm really, really glad we got to see them. And I think, like I was saying, just like those waxbills, they are very slow to move around because it is very, very cold at the moment. Yeah, so Owen, can I just show everyone what I'm looking at, just so we are all on the same page? So these are some of the firefinches that we see, and I think it's the red-billed. So if you have a look here, I mean, that's the male, the very, very pink overall body. And I noticed a little bit of pink on the face and that very distinctive red bill. So that's why I think it is a female red-billed firefinch. I'd love to see if the males are around, but it doesn't seem like they are. But I was just saying how good this little tree is for them to have something to drink. And if you look inside there's just lots and lots of branches moving in all sorts of direction, which allows them lots of places to hide. And so they'll come down very briefly and have something to drink. And then if a potential threat, like a small little raptor, comes by, it provides a very quick escape to get into the middle of the tree, and then those bigger raptors won't be able to follow them in there. I mean, another awesome thing about birding is we've sat here in one spot and we've seen the firefinches, the bunting, the fish eagle, so that's 3. We probably can hear another 4 or 5 other species around us, and I haven't seen a single mammal. There's hippos in the water. But apart from that, I mean, the bird life this morning is really, really fantastic. Trying to see if we can... there was also... we saw a canary briefly, but they don't... So I think we've spent a decent amount of time at this waterhole, so I think I am going to move on and maybe start heading back down towards the river.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Now we check the hyena den and nobody's home. Interesting. I'll keep coming back though, I promise. But we do have a vulture. We actually had 2. One flew off, so we've stopped quite far away. There's no point in getting closer, and then everybody flies off. But it's interesting. It's interesting that vultures are around here, but they are very, very heavy birds. They've got great body mass. And normally, when you see one vulture, it's not really anything to get too excited about, because they do rest in the trees at night time. They will roost all night and get ready to fly in the morning. And vultures are known to ride the thermals. That's what we call it. They wait until there's pockets of air that they can glide, and this is low energy flight. So what that means is they really don't have to expend as much energy, as I always talk about the energy budget, because cold air sinks, as we know, BK and I know that very well, and warm air rises. So when that sun sort of gets high enough in the sky, pockets of warm air will start to rise, and it won't be equal. There'll be little bits of pockets here and there, and this is what the vultures use to fly, and it prevents the sort of constant need to flap those really large, heavy wings. And it's said to save the birds 3 times the amount of energy that they would use for flapping flight. So that's what a vulture does. They wait. They're highly visual. They can see everything that's going on around them, and they wait until they can ride the thermals. Joe, you're asking where they nest. Now, there's many different species of vultures, but we are actually looking at the white-backed right now, which is the most common one to see around here. And because they are so heavy, they've got really sort of heavy bodies, they nest in trees. And they need a tree that will support their weight. So they won't choose to nest in sort of all trees. Leadwood is a good example. They like leadwoods because of the dense woods. And knobthorns are a good one. Various different acacias out here can support their weight. But you won't find them nesting in every single tree. For example, combretums, other than leadwood, like a bush willow, wouldn't support their weight. And they just create nests using sticks. There's actually a white-backed vulture nest not too far from here in Philemon's Cutline. If we drive past it, I will definitely stop to show you all. This is a marula that is perched in this now. It's perched very high up. I wonder if it's scanning. Getting ready to fly, but using that height advantage to see what's going on, survey the area. There we go with the Cape turtle dove singing its morning tune. But vultures can soar great distances. They can soar up to about 150 kilometers high in the sky. And they can just take advantage of these wonderful air pockets that boost them. George, vultures do have predators, and that's why they have to be very, very careful when they're at sort of freedom frenzy kill sites, and larger birds of prey can attack vultures. It's not common, but larger birds will attack vultures if they get the chance. They're a good source of meat. If you think about it, they've got large bodies. They would make quite a good snack for bigger birds. And of course, I've never seen a lion attack a vulture, but if a leopard came across it, it would be an opportunity. Leopards are opportunistic and they will take any opportunity that comes their way. Now, I would quite like to get closer and see where that second one flew off to. I was just initially scared that our engine would scare it away. Now I'm doing one last scan behind me, the hyena den's behind me, to make sure nobody's arrived while I've been focusing on the vulture. I don't think so. But let me just check. Oh, sounds very interesting. I am obviously driving on this delightful game path, but Mr. Hendry is negotiating his way through the thicket.
I have, and I'm totally confused as to where on earth these lions could have gone. I've walked through here, we followed up where the vultures were, and we have not come up with so much as the sign of a lion. Not a track, not a growl, not a grunt, not a carcass, nothing. Not an alarm call. It is utterly bizarre. Oops. Nearly as bizarre as my driving. So I really don't know what's happened to these things. Hello, Samuel. Age just 9 years old. Samuel, it's not that difficult. It's the same way that I suspect if I... Where's somewhere that you go quite often? Let's say you probably go to school, right, every day? Well, you probably don't at the moment, but you certainly used to before COVID. And I'm pretty sure that you could find your way to school and back again from school, right? And that's just because you've done it many times. And it's the same thing here. So I know my way around here because I've driven around a lot and I know the area very well. If I came to where you live and you said to me, take me to school, I'd be unable to do that because I wouldn't be familiar with the area. So that's one way. The other way is using the sun, and you'll find that human beings in general, Samuel, are pretty good at being able to find direction as long as they can see the sun. And so I have an idea of where I am because of where the sun is. And that's almost, I suppose, what you'd call instinctual, which means that it just happens automatically. And if you live in the lamentable town of Cape Town, then you can use the mountain for direction. It's quite nice. They like to use their mountain to traverse the landscape from artisanal coffee shop to artisanal coffee shop to artisanal iMac store to artisanal printers to artisanal gallery to artisanal skinny jean store. You know, that's how they do it there in Cape Town. But it's not so hard once you learnt. It's a little harder if you go, for example, if you go into a place like the Okavango or Chobe, you know, in Botswana, where there are not many roads, and there's no topography, so there are no mountains, there are no hills, there's nothing like that, which means it's very difficult to find your way using landmarks. So you have to use the sun, and then you might have to use the aid of a GPS or a compass if you were born in the 1800s. There is a Nyala cow. Sorry. You hear alarm calling, David? Are you sure? Behind us.
So we've just got to the meerkats. I'm still on a bit of a buzz here with seeing these cheetah. As we were walking into the burrows, they were still kind of 300 yards from this point. So it was kind of equidistant from where we had seen them originally and the meerkat burrows. But they're moving very slowly away from here. We've just lost sight of them. But the meerkats are out now. And yes, this is so exciting. Eh? Wow, 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 wow. So today may be D-Day. Like I say, I was wrong already 2 days back. But I know there are a number of people that are thinking they're going to come out today. Let's hold thumbs. The pups I'm talking about, not the adults. Just out of interest, we swept a small square of sand yesterday morning when we left here, just to see what tracks would be over those, would be over that bare patch of sand. And there's not a single sign of anything that had walked over it. So we can show you that just now, just out of interest. So to put it in perspective, you know, when we're seeing the signs on the ground here, it's not that there's something going on every single night or during the day. I mean, you can get, the tracks here get built up over days and weeks and months. And if your climatic conditions are calm, some of the sign can last literally for weeks at a time. But in terms of other predators around here, there's absolutely nothing obvious that we can see. Not even a jackal crossed this way last night. So So far, all's looking good for these meerkats. And those cheetah actually bypass where we park the vehicles. Well, let's see. Yeah, no, this is a very, very special thing, and like I say, it's getting so exciting now because we know there's pups down there. This is not like, well, maybe, if, could be, possibly, has something happened. We know there's pups, so it's just getting more and more and more and more exciting.
We have a hornbill, and it's not the usual suspects. No! They are so difficult for us to get on camera. This is a grey hornbill. Yes, we can still see it. The yellow-billed and the red-bills are very, very common. They seem to like time on camera, but the greys not so much. The African grey hornbill. Now, believe it or not, the males have the really grey beak, but females can actually have a sort of yellowy beak with a red tip, which makes it very confusing when you see them. So they do look different, and the males are also much bigger than the females, and they've got that little trumpet bit on top. You see that extra additional part on their beak? Call it a casque. And they're very flighty. They're common, they're flighty, and I think they're hungry, aren't we all? I do have my banana and peanut butter. I haven't managed to get it yet. Oh, many of you are saying that's very cool. I know, it was perfect, and then it just kept moving and moving because they're looking for food. They're scanning for any delicious insects that they can see on the ground. But grey hornbills are very gorgeous. Got an additional part of the beak called the casque, which is way more prominent, and it's in lots of hornbills actually. If you Google some of the hornbill species you can find in Indonesia, you will see some incredible species. Okay, I think it's a birding morning this morning. We're going to send you over to some more birds at Ngala. Sorry about that, everyone. The gremlins are out in full force today. Luckily, they haven't reached Juma yet. I'm sure Ngala will be back with us. I think you got a fleeting glimpse of a sunbird there, which is great news. Sunbirds are beautiful. We don't see them too often here, or at least in winter. Absolutely not. I remember during the days of summer enjoying every moment, but longing for winter, to be able to see through. And now it's winter. I long for summer. We're never happy human beings, are we? Those that have short hair want long hair. Those that are tall want to be short. Anyway, I'm enjoying being able to see further into the thicket, but I do miss summer. I miss the birds. There's a big bird talking off. Sorry, BK. That was a bit of an abrupt break. I have no idea what it is. Let's discover together. I'll get my binos out as BK works his magic and zooms in. Could be another vulture. It absolutely is a vulture. Look at that bulbous beak. I think it's a whiteback. I'm not entirely sure of the species. BK, can you just move a little bit to the right? No, this is very far away. I think there's another one way in the background there. Sorry, Emma, can you repeat this? My ear is so cold that the earpiece keeps falling out. There's quite a lot of vultures around, but they're not sort of all in one place to make me suspicious. But I do wonder if something went down last night. You can see the ruff. All those feathers around the neck, although it's not the best view because it's very, very far away. I think it's a whiteback. Immediately you can see that ruff. Gemma, do you think it's a lappet face? Oh, and Joy in Hong Kong agrees with me that it's a white-faced. That's a little bit confusing. I think it's a white back. I'll just get Emma to clarify what you said there, Joy. Because if it's a white face, that's quite unusual. We don't get the white-faced. It's either white back or white-headed. I wonder if it's a white-headed vulture. I'm going to disagree with myself, everyone. I don't think it's the white-backed. Yes, James Richard, good to hear from you. You think it's a white-headed. You agree. Yep, it's a white-headed. You can just tell by the head, the shape of the head. If you look, it seems to be, I don't know how to describe this, pointy at the back. We have a white-headed vulture. This is really not something we see a lot on Juma. They have a bright red bill, but obviously we can't see that from here. And yes, thank you, James Richard. I changed my mind at the last minute there. It's not a white-backed. It's a white-headed. I think that's what you also meant, Joy, in Hong Kong. I think you also agreed that it's a white-headed. It's not a lappet face. A lappet face, they don't have that sort of shaped head. Their beak is much larger. They have just a general different body shape. This is so exciting. I think something went down last night. Somebody did something very mysterious. I think we should probably loop around that way. If there's vultures in the area, they're not here for no reason. That was really cool, everyone. It was very far away, but it was definitely a white-headed. Thank you, everyone, for assisting with that. They have a sort of really angular-shaped head at the back. And believe it or not, their head is white. Okay, now I'm going to try and find some more interesting animals for you. Wish me lots of luck.
So there we go. So this is a really good book on tracks and signs that I've got. I won't tell you the title. There's lots that you can get and Google. But I just want to show you, you see these beautiful tracks on this page? That's pretty much exactly what we got on our square that we did yesterday. There is not a sausage of a track on here except for my own hands. So that's just out of interest. It just shows, you know, sometimes you think, oh, there must be like masses of animals and little things like moving around in the bush. But there's actually, and we've looked at it really, really carefully, we can't see anything obvious. The only thing that I could see that might have been something is this little one over here, but that's actually just a plant that's rolled. So just on this, while we're on tracks, when you look at this, it's actually, you know, if someone else had to come along here, immediately they would be drawing some conclusions from this. You know, they would say, okay, well, actually it was something that swept this, and you'd look around, you'd see human footprints and that. So you can actually, even from the square, if you knew nothing about it, you could start kind of coming up with varying hypotheses. But anyway, that's just out of interest. So no sign here, so we'll keep this one going. So I'm keeping like a half eye on the little meerkats over here. They're just out over there. And there's 5 out now, so there's going to be more and more and more popping out just now. Well, one more to make. You can only have more and more to a point. But you see how they keep looking down there as well. It may be that those pups are starting to come out. Now, so remember, when we say the pups come out, it's not like they're sitting 2 meters back inside the burrow, or 3, or however far they are, and then just like one day they decide, okay, let's run up to the entrance. There's probably this like to and fro, getting closer and closer and closer to the entrance. So it may be that they, even like right there, we just haven't even seen them, just because they're sitting just below the level of the entrance. But I'm just looking at a number of those meerkats. Actually, I'll keep looking down. You see that? And also, the other interesting thing here is that the alpha female hasn't come out. And every single morning that we've been here so far, she's been the first one out of the burrow. I think those pups are very, very close to the entrance there. And there's no ways, we will never risk going closer. In fact, I had the weirdest dream last night. Speaking of my dreams, I dreamed we were at a meerkat burrow, and people were trying to get closer and closer to them. So I just had to keep telling them, "You're not going closer. We're gonna look after these meerkats. No one's going to get close to them." Anyway, so that was just for a thing. But so let's hold thumbs.
Well, I dream about leopards. Everybody, I think we have Shadulu. I'm very happy right now. She's watching some impala. The impala's running. She's going. She doesn't know it's here. She missed. I can still see her, VK. Good job. Can you hear all the impala? I've seen her now. Okay, let's go forward. Shadulu, she's hungry. Our Duchess of the West is on Juma. Hello, beautiful. I'm sorry you missed that leopard, impala. Just gonna walk right past the car. The impala are not happy. Okay, it's time to move. You cannot let a leopard get too far into the thicket or you lose them. Oh, angry impala. Ah, what a morning. I will need to call this in shortly. Shadulu is not an easy leopardess to follow. She's always very busy. A lady on a mission. Always. Ooh. Shadulu fan, I'm so stoked for you. And I'm stoked for everyone. There's a really awful smell around here. I can smell something dead. But Shadulu obviously doesn't seem too interested. So yes, I'm smiling for you, Shadulu fan. I know you love your Shadulu. Now, I shared the territories map on my Instagram. If anyone wants a copy, I'm happy to send them to you. And what's really, really interesting is the dynamics between the three leopardesses, Tlalamba, Tandi, and Shadulu. They all reign over different sections of our property. Good morning, stations. I've located Shadulu, female leopard, just off Zoe's. Okay, she's just here, sorry. It's not easy to bash through. I don't think she's going to be very stationary, but she's hungry. You okay, Beaks? So it's a very intricate sort of web. Tlalamba, Tandi, and Shadulu. Now, Tlalamba is very much territorial now. You cannot say in any way that she's not. She is. Our princess is territorial. I'm going to stop here, Beaks, so we can just get a nice view of Shadulu. Shadulu means termite mound, and she's very often found on a termite mound. We're very good with our names here. She just missed that impala earlier. She's scent marking. Yep, she's on territorial patrol. Scoosh, scoosh. Which is actually a very energetically costly activity. Especially for the males. The males spend more energy on it than the females do, but it really eats up into their energy budget. Energy is the... She's heading in the direction of quarantine, which is a good thing. For me, at least. Maybe not for Shadulu. Okay, I'm going to really try and keep up with Shadulu, possibly get ahead of her. And as I do that, we're going to send you back across to the meerkats.
So this is like a little game of up and down now. I've always wondered about that. You know, they'll come out, sun themselves, and it looks like they're really settled, and then just suddenly they boom, down again. And it's not like there's any alarm calls or anything going on. But I firmly believe that I think with these pups becoming more active underground now, that there's probably something going on there in terms of the social interactions. And I'm just very, very pleased that we actually spent as much time as we did with this group of meerkats. Because, you know, imagine us starting 2 days ago or 3 days ago, trying to work with these meerkats just before the pups are about to emerge. Yeesh, it would have been very, very difficult. George has asked, are meerkats omnivores? No, they're not regarded as omnivores. They are carnivores. So they'll pretty much eat whatever they can get hold of. There are records of them, and I've seen it personally. And in fact, I've got photographs of it, of meerkat pups eating flowers. I know it sounds crazy, but in the summer months after good rains, we get these mass explosions of these beautiful yellow flowers. They're called devil's thorns. You get two. You get one's called the devil's claw, which doesn't flower profusely. It's very isolated, beautiful pink flowers, big pink flowers, or maroon mauvey flowers. But then you get these other ones called devil's thorn. Mass flowering of these yellow blossoms, and they very, very low to the ground. And I've actually watched meerkat pups eating those, and not like biting it, like kind of chewing it and then leaving it, actually eating those flowers completely. So I don't know how common that is. I don't know how unusual it is, but certainly they're not toxic. And and I mean, I've got photographs of them doing that, which is quite interesting. So yeah, technically we could say they're omnivorous. They'll eat a wide range of things, but they are regarded as carnivores, and their primary diet is insects, scorpions, little vertebrates, things like that. So geckos, lizards. Our meerkat habituator, Veronique, we were chatting about it a day before yesterday, saying that she's actually watched them eating chicks, bird chicks as well. So yeah.
She's definitely stalking. She's spotted some impala, so she's froze. The typical leopard technique where they freeze. Tail is twitching. She's assessing the situation. How far are they? Have they seen me? Do they know I'm here? Now, Shadulu was obviously quite recently mating with Mulwati. Hukamuri tried, but I don't think he was successful. So she could be pregnant. And I think she's spending a lot more time in Juma because she's given a section of territory, or she's getting ready to hand over a section of her territory to Kara, her current daughter. She looks extremely well fed. But she's definitely stalking out breakfast. See how carefully she's moving. She sees something. I think it's impala. She's multitasking here. She's scent marking and stalking. What a girl. Now, she's not quite going low to the ground, but she's definitely seen something. She's doing all the calculations, all the leopard calculations in her head. W4. Leopards have a white underside. You see that? On top it's black with rosettes. On the underside it's white. Okay, Beaks, we're going to follow so we don't lose her. And when they curl their tail up like this, normally it's a sign, a peace sign. And it's a white flag. Like, I'm here everyone. I'm not going to hurt you. But I see leopards do it a lot just before they actually hunt, which means they are going to hunt. And they are going to hurt the animal. But that's normally what it means. Peace sign, putting up that white tail as a flag to say, I mean no harm. Now, I forgot to tell you all, I had a bit of an incident yesterday. You may have noticed I was with Chandy, and then all of a sudden I was not with Chandy. I snapped the steering rod, yes. So James and Davy came to rescue me. And I'm a bit cautious that I definitely do not want to do the same thing today. So I'm trying to be very gentle when I'm off-roading today. Oh, there's someone there. PK, there's a steam bog. There's a steam bog, she sees it. I'm going to stay really quiet. It's a steenbok or duiker. It doesn't see her. It doesn't see her, everybody. I think it's a steenbok. We're not going to move the car. There's quite a distance. Shadulu's got to play this well. The steenboks lay down flat in the grass. Shadula's got to execute this very, very carefully. Now she's twitching her tail, W4, and they normally do this just before a hunt. Beverly, you're saying, come on, girl, you can do this. She can do it. She's quite the huntress. Davy and I got Shadulu making a live kill at Christmas time, and it was a duiker. So I know this is not the best visuals, but I'm not turning on the car to interrupt this. I can see the steenbok. The steenbok's gone flat. And I can see Shadulu. But leopards have got to break the distance. The steenbok's just a little bit too far. She has to get closer without being seen. That's the biggest challenge. The steenbok has really, really camouflaged itself, and I wonder Shidulu can still see it. She's going down, she's going down. JT, yes she will. She'll need to get her kill and get it up a tree nice and quick. Hyenas are always around. They follow the leopards, just as vultures follow the lions. So what Shidulu's doing here is hoping that the steenbok soon forgets that there's something there. I don't think the steenbok realizes it's a leopard. So Shidulu's just biding her time. Steenboks have large ears. They can hear very well, although leopards have sort of digitated foot structure designed for being quiet. Steenbok will be able to hear the approach. We cannot risk interrupting this. Okay, Shidulu's now sitting, biding time. She knows it's still there. This is quite the standoff. Someone's gonna have to move at some point. It'd be lovely to have Shidulu on a kill on Juma. Means we can just spend a little bit more time with her stationary. Shidulu knows that she puts one foot out of line here, she loses a potential kill. She's moving, she's gonna move. Rosemary, you're right. This is so much fun. You can't believe that you're here with us right now in the African bush. I'm glad you're with us, Rosemary. Oh my goodness, this is incredible. I can see the steenbok's head. Steenbok's watching. Shidulu's swinging her tail from side to side. Steenbok's ran. Gone. It's gone. Oh, Shidulu, my girl, I'm sorry. Whew. Now I can breathe. Okay, I'm gonna keep up with my girl here, and we're gonna send you guys back across to those gorgeous meerkats.
So just to recap. On this group, they call the rock star meerkats. Their name actually derives from a really weird and totally random rock that's lying at this big road junction. just down from us here. There are 6 in this group, 6 adults. Some of them are young adults, so we'll call them sub-adults. Alpha male, alpha female, and so we know there's pups underground. She had pups on the 18th of June, so it won't be too much longer. In fact, they any day now. We, in fact, think they may even be coming out today. So we're holding thumbs for these little pups. But yeah, it's been a long, excuse me, it's been a long journey that we've gone on with these little meerkats, and but it's nearing that D-Day. Any day now that we're going to get some really, really good interaction with these pups. And just remember, any questions that you got, #WildEarth, you know, we'll do our best to answer them or find out the answers if we don't know what they are. But how cute are they? Yes.
Creature slightly larger than meerkats here, and we are watching a nice young elephant bull who's got some promising looking tusks. And look at the shape of them. They're nice and thick right from the base, and they're quite uniform in length. So yeah, very promising. And he's not the only one around. There's actually quite a few elephants around here. So there's this one, there's a few other bulls similar age to him that have been wrestling around the whole morning. It does seem like the majority of them have stopped playing, and now they're more focused on feeding. As you see through that arch there, you might see a couple more elephants moving through. So it does seem like it's a herd, and they're just in some dense bushes at the moment, and it looks like a lot of them are focusing on some grass that they're feeding on, so trying to get into some of the spaces that haven't been eaten already by some of the grazing animals. See, I don't know. Here we go. There's one on the left. This one's also, I mean, if you look at the tusks of this one for such a young elephant, there we go. They're growing out quite wide, but also very symmetrical and quite thick. And hopefully, you never know, maybe they grow up to have some really grand looking tusks in the future. Just see how, I mean, if you look at the way that it's flicking there, so it's trying to get rid of the dead grass and probably some soil. If you look just behind the tusks there, you can see that golden color, and that's all sand. As soon as that sand gets into their teeth, it can grind those teeth down. So he wants to try and clean them as much as he can. Olivia, you say you call them Jumbo Dumbos. That's a pretty apt name, I think. Very cool. And this one looks like it's half asleep. I mean, it's got its eyes closed. I think it's got its face pointing towards the sun. And it's just taking the morning light, feeding on some good grass. I'm surprised. I mean, you wouldn't really expect there to be a lot of nutrients in this grass at this time of year. When you look at the color, it's all basically completely golden in color. Not much green around left. But there's obviously enough to still interest these elephants. See, there's one or two little green strands as it's putting it into its mouth. And just look at that wrinkled face. Its eye looks like it's just up. It's probably just keeping an eye on us, making sure that we're not... So it looks like it's going to be feeding around here for quite some time. We probably are going to, myself and Owen, carry on along the river and see what else we can find shortly.
Welcome back, guys. As you can see right in front of us, we have 3 sub-adult lions. We just come across to them. We lost male lion completely, so luckily now, look like they're stalking something. As you can see, the way they're looking, there must be something around. One of the lionesses, she walked further down, looking around. there must be something around, and I'm not sure what it is, but quite a lot of bushes around. We'll just see what they got. I'm going to scan as well to see what they're actually hunting there. There's quite bushes down there, quite thick, but you can see the way they're looking. They're definitely seeing something there. I'm not too sure. Could be Inyala or a warthog. This is an area of a lot of Inyalas because it's down here. There's like a kind of drainage line. So it's a good chance to be a Inyala. Well, let's wait for the signal from the other liners. See what she brings back to us. Wow. You can see the way they're walking around. This is a kind of, I can see from a distance, there's a male Inyala, what they're sporting there. I don't know how far that other line is. Yeah, if you look further down across, I'm going to roll forward a bit so we can able to. Okay, guys, we're trying to see what's happening around there, but we'll send you back to the elephant and enjoy the guys. See you later.
We actually heard some branches breaking and thought that the rest of the herd was coming down, so we decided to just stick around for a little bit longer and see if we can maybe see some interaction between some of the younger members of the herd. But we haven't seen very many yet. We've just been hearing the branches breaking, and so we're back with that same elephant that we left you on, just because this is the clearest view of elephants that we have seen, and still hasn't moved far at all. So it's just getting in and amongst those trees there. And for a normal grazer like an impala, I guess even buffalo maybe, it's quite difficult for them to put their heads in there, and it's also quite risky. Once their heads are down, they can't see what's around them. Yeah. Andre, you're saying how intelligent elephants are, and they really are. They've just got a presence about them, and it's just so nice to be able to sit and watch them and sit in silence and see how they go about their things. And just what fascinates me is how that trunk moves. And I don't know if you can own this one here on the right-hand side. We've got a nice view of another one, and it's feeding, but it's feeding completely differently. And look at how it's reaching into the branches. Looks like it could be going after a little creeper that's within the tree. So not only does it know that creeper is good to eat, it can smell it out, and it can direct its trunk in between the big thorn trees to get to that creeper. And those trunks just move. I would love to know the feeling of being able to have the muscle control to operate a trunk like that. It must be quite incredible. Razik, these are African elephants, yes. It's the only elephant that we get here. So within southern Africa, you only find the savanna or the bush elephant, and then if you go into the central rainforests and jungles of Africa, you get the forest elephant. So those are two different species that you find both in Africa. But, I mean, these ones, they've all got tusks, so it's one of the biggest differences between Asian and African elephants is both females and males have got tusks. And they're also a little bit bigger. So there are quite a few different differences.
So 4 of the meerkats have just popped back down. The alpha female was out, and then she's gone back down with the others. So I think these pups, although we can't see them yet, but I do think they're actually very close to the burrow entrances. And we're not going to go close to the burrow and try to see if we can see them down there. This is really a game of patience and keeping our distance, letting them come out in their own time. There's no need for us to rush this whatsoever. I think over the coming days, coming weeks, it's going to be producing some superlative viewing. But it really is just biding your time and just being super, super, super patient in situations like this. I love the way these little ones are kind of like leaning on the side there now, trying to get comfortable. But constantly on sentry duty, constantly watching out for any bird activity, birds of prey, any little ground predators, other mongoose maybe. Because remember, these are part of the mongoose family. So meerkats are a kind of mongoose. But I think the critical thing as well is when these little pups come out, there's been a common fiscal, or some people may know it as a fiscal shrike or a butcher bird that's been hanging around here, very, very relaxed. And a meerkat pup is not beyond the ability of one of those birds to actually catch. So they'll be keeping a very, very careful eye out for things like that. Now, the fact that it's now whatever time it is, I have no idea what the time is, but the fact that it's like progressed so late, and normally by this time they're kind of like moving off. Jenny has just commented saying this is such a gorgeous thing to do, to wait for pups. 100% right. You know, we have been in two minds about just how much time do we devote to this. But I'm a big believer in you can never spend enough time with animals, not just animals, but just nature in general, observing it. And I think this is, hopefully, keep our fingers crossed, hold thumbs, I think this is going to pay off really, really well over the coming weeks. I think let's see what our colleagues have got for you, and I'm just going to spend some more time down here.
Now, Shadulu went into this really, really thick drainage at the edge of quarantine and Rebecca's road, and we can't follow. The car's okay, BK and I are okay, but there was no way we could follow. So I'm judging by her trajectory and her usual Shadulu movements, I'm predicting where she's going to pop out. Unless she decides to lie down for a great big snooze, I think she's going to pop out on the western edge of quarantine, or I hope she's going to pop out. She's a very busy bee. She was mobile, very mobile when we left her, so I'm hoping that it won't take her long to make her way out here. And this, in my opinion, is where Kalamba and Shadulu meet. It's the western edge of quarantine. Up here's quarantine, really not too far from our camp. And they do both use similar roads, but I think this is their territorial border, Kalamba and Shadulu. Tandy doesn't come this way anymore. She used to, but not since things have shifted around. Sorry, I keep seeing leopards everywhere. This is what happens. Your eyes start to play, or is it your brain? Your brain starts to play lots of tricks on you. What we're going to do is we're going to get up here, switch off and listen. Maybe impalas or birds or somebody will give the game away. She's on territorial patrol, which means she's going to keep moving, and she does use quarantine. So we can only hope that she's going to pop back out. If she doesn't, I'll hopefully have enough time to race round to that hyena den for my last check of the morning. Okay, this is where I'm guessing that she's going to pop out. I'm just going to position myself nicely here, and hopefully that she does. Paul, you're wondering if the animals are struggling to find food. I really don't think so. I think this is the best winter. The animals, I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to position here, everyone. If I keep driving, I'm going to lose the place. Yes, I think that this is the best winter for all the animals out here. Herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, than we've had for a very, very long time, really. The water, the amount of rain we received this summer was so heavy that all the dams are still full. Some of the trees that should lose their leaves are still retaining onto their leaves. And, okay, a lot of the grass is dying, but really the vegetation is still thicker than it would have been this time last year. The flowers have disappeared, but really there's still a lot of food around for the animals, so I don't think they're struggling at all. They're adjusting, yes, but struggling, Paul, I really don't think so. The heavy rain summer brought such good news to the low-veld area around here, and I think they're still thriving on it. A lot of the herbivores are still in great condition. The browsers can still browse, the grazers can still graze. It's really not a harsh winter. Cold, yes. Harsh, no. Okay, I'm going to wait here. I'm going to give it 15 minutes. And if Shatula doesn't meet my date, then we will head to the hyena den.
Welcome back, guys. As you can see, we're just standing around. We just lost our lines at the moment. We're sitting in a nice, beautiful, as you can see, a landscape, beautiful up here. We're up on the tip of the Lebombo mountain, which is amazing. If you look further across, it's more flat. Comparing to up to a lower flat, which is totally different into this area. This is more solid divest in here, into this area where we are. Pinda is that's well known as a beautiful solid divest, which is it's one of our habitat types where we up. Very lucky to have this kind of a habitat into this area. This is a part of a mountain range from all the way up to Limpopo, coming down to this area, come to Lebombo, which is amazing to see. This is kind of a habitat. Most people have been here, they know what I'm talking about. Lovely place. We're trying to see if we can spot this lion again. They will disappearing here, hunting. We did spot some Nyala further down, and I'm going to scan and see if we can manage to see it again up onto this hillside, because one of the lionesses was looping around because a lot of trees. Okay, guys, because looks like we didn't get it like with the lion. We'll send it back to Jen with some hippos. Have a lovely time there, guys. Hopefully you'll see you again.
Very nice shot we have here of some hippopotamus. And they're being bombed by a blacksmith lapwing. I'm not sure why the blacksmith lapwing has taken offence. Well, there it is. Maybe he's bombing the oxpecker that was sitting on top of the hippos. Now this looks like a little group of juveniles, including a very small one. And they're just having a lovely morning, enjoying the warmth of the sun, and of course the fact that the water is probably round about the same temperature now as the air. Now, for those of you who have been watching the whole time, I'm afraid the Nkuhuma Pride did cross out of Djuma and it headed down south, probably to the southern reaches of the Sabi Sands, or central regions of the Sabi Sands into Mala Mala. So unfortunately, we're not going to see them today. Jeff, I have read that a hippopotamus can stay under the water for up to 8 minutes. Now, I have watched hippopotamus a lot, and I've never seen one stay under the water for anything like that length of time. And in fact, we've done a couple of experiments while we were live, and I think the longest we've seen a hippo under the water is about 2 minutes. Maybe, I think we got to 2.5 once. So normally it's around about 60 seconds, 30 to 60 seconds. It can be longer. I've read 8 minutes, but I've never seen it myself. David, can you see that hippopotamus out of the water there? So on a day like today, when it's not going to be blindingly hot, sometimes the hippos would like to sun themselves. And there is a hippo doing just that. Which is, of course, a brilliant thing to be doing on a day like today. And then the other thing that we can see up here is a fish eagle on the top of that jackalberry tree. Striped horse, what a lovely name. Hippos probably sleep for, I'm going to say, between 12 and 14 hours, certainly. A lot of it's just dozing, though, you know. They doze in the water, pop up to the surface, have a breath, sink down again, pop up and sink down again. I mean, it's quite possible that they sleep for even longer than that. They might sleep for up to 16 hours. They don't feed a lot because they don't need to. They don't use a lot of energy. And so you'll find that they don't need to feed too much. And so they can do a lot of resting and conserving of energy. A little bit of action here. A couple of them moving around. Maybe you see the bubbles moving off. But otherwise, everything is calm and peaceful here. So I think what we'll probably end up doing is heading off towards the west, and we'll see if we can pick up some tracks of Thandi the leopard.
We're still driving along the edge of the riverbed. Those elephants have decided to move off into the bushes, so we didn't really see the rest of the herd too nicely in the end, unfortunately. But you never know. I mean, there's patches of river where these elephants still drink on a regular basis, so we might be able to catch up with them hopefully this afternoon. It will probably be one of the first places that we check. And we're still just driving along, seeing if we can find any signs of that male leopard we started looking for this morning. We've seen tracks of just one male heading down this road. So every now and again I just swerve quickly just to see if the tracks are still on the road, and it does look like they are. So this might have been him leaving last night and just marking his territory on one of his territorial patrols. And so if that's the case, there's a good chance that he's covered quite some distance and he's moved quite far. But it's always worth just at least trying to figure out exactly where he might have settled down, whether it be in between the section of the river. There's a really small little vervet monkey that's trying to hide from us. Can you see it? I just saw the tail. So have you got him? No. So just zoom into the tree. About a meter up from the big tree. Up a little bit more. Okay, now you actually need to go down. He's super well camouflaged, and it's probably... I got him, there you go. Yeah, look at it. And so it's probably just relying on that grey body to just blend in. It was watching us. It doesn't seem like it's too concerned about us now. It's moving around a little bit more. And it's just this one. I wonder where the rest of them... We'll try and see if we can find the rest of the troop and see if there's some entertaining scenes coming your way.
So we've actually had all 6 of these meerkats out again. And they've been doing a huge amount of digging. About 5 minutes ago, there was a huge amount of like burrow maintenance going on and sand flying and that. And then they went down again a little bit, and now they've popped out again. So yeah, I think this is probably going to be the longest build-up in history on one sighting. But I'm content that we've actually put in the hours here, and it's going to be good. So what they're doing, they do this typically every morning. They sort of come out of one, sometimes 2 burrows, and then they sun themselves, and then they start splitting up. So we've got one right just in front of me here, and then another one just to his to the left there, another one, and another one. And it's also important, this burrow maintenance, here's one actually, no, he stopped. There we go, starting to dig a little bit. Sam has asked, are there more male or female meerkats in this group? And it's the same amount in this particular group. But that can vary, there's no set ratio in that. And very often you get more males being born in species where your males disperse over big distances, and because of that they're actually likely to suffer injury, and so typically you'll have a high mortality amongst the males, and you get more males being born into groups like that. But in this particular group it's 50-50. Yes, I'm keen to see how many pups there are. Could be 4, 5, 6, could be 2, could be 1, but just going on suckle marks that we've been seeing on the adult female, it's almost certainly more than 3. Oh, look at that digging going on there. Yeah, he's now, I was talking about you, yep, he's like watching me now, moving across. That's the little alpha female. There you go, you can actually see really, really nicely. I think from that angle, so I remember I'm sitting behind her now.
We had some really nice kudu bulls that were perfectly framed up, and they decided to move up onto the bank, and so we've lost them for now. We'll see if we can try keep our eyes out for them. It was beautiful. 4 big male kudus out in the riverbed. There we go. There's one disappearing. Well done, Owen. Just managed to find one as it disappeared behind the bush. So that was one of the smallest ones. The others were all bigger than that. You look into the bushes, you might just be able to see the horns every now and again. Really, really nice. And just going on with the theme of birding, you might be able to hear the arrowmark babblers cackling away in the background, some blue waxbills and the rattling testicular calling. It's proving to be such a beautiful morning. Seems like it's warming up really nicely now. So our way of looking for these predators is probably going to change a little bit from looking for them active. We now can pretty much assume that they'll be settling down for the day. And so exactly where those kudus decided to walk into would probably be a really good spot for lions and leopards to decide to rest up in. It's nice and shady, it's protected, and just see how well these animals blend in as soon as you get some shade. Rosemary, I agree with you. The horns of a big male kudu are really quite something. I know, I haven't seen it myself, but I know people have watched them using their horns to break off branches to feed. But you have to think, for such an animal like that and the environment and habitat that it hangs around in, those horns can potentially be quite a hindrance if they're needing to make a quick getaway, trying to dodge through very thick bush with such long horns behind them can be quite something to do, and I'm sure it slows them down a lot. About a month and a half ago, Owen and I, at the end of one of the Safari Live shows, actually managed to follow a pride of lions walking along this exact riverbed, and we managed to sit and watch them for about 40 minutes, and they managed to kill a kudu right in front of our eyes, and it was a big male, so I'm sure he also would have been hindered trying to move through the bushes, trying to escape from these lions. But these kudu seem to have moved off. I don't know if we can see any of them anymore, unfortunately. So I think, I don't know. Yeah, so whilst we continue on with our game drive for the morning, I think we might send you across to Lauren to see what she's got for you.
My morning is going very well. It's warming up. I'm taking my scarf and my jackets off. I just happen to have lost the leopardess. Now, we've done a huge loop. We waited for a while. She chose to go into the trickiest drainage. We could have attempted it, but I think I would have had the same fate as yesterday. Having Mr. Henry and Mr. Easter come to rescue you with all the tools was highly entertaining. I think she'll be around. She'll stay around. Shidulu's on Juma a lot more than we ever realize. Brian, you're asking about, well, melanism in animals. And yes, have you never seen a black leopard, also called black panther? Black panther's not a real term. It's a very generic term, and in areas like South America, it refers to jaguars, melanistic jaguars, and in sort of Africa and India, it refers to the black leopard. Google it, black leopard. Completely black, gorgeous, but if you zoom in really closely, you can see the rosettes. But it's completely melanistic, and melanism is prevalent through the animal kingdom, and it's when you have too much pigment, and it normally makes the animal black. You also get melanistic manta rays. It's not just mammals. And leucistic is the term that we use when the animal is white, but still retains a little bit of pigment. If you're an albino, I used to have an albino rabbit, it means you have no pigment whatsoever. And a lot of albino animals don't often survive because there's no protection from the sun or the rays. They often have bright red eyes, pure white hair or feathers if you're a bird, and not many albinos out in the wild survive. But leucistic animals can survive, and they do have a little bit of melanin. It's not completely absent, and you get leucistic elephants. We actually had one here not so long ago, a young one, a calf. I've never seen a leucistic leopard, I have to say. But you do get leucistic manta rays, you get leucistic many animals, and it's completely different from albino. Albino is an absence of any pigment whatsoever. So yes, we do. We get melanistic leopards, but I have to say I've never seen a leucistic leopard. Redstone, you're right. How animals can be the same animals but look completely different. Yes, it's the same species, but they look completely different because they have far too much pigment. And there's a place in Ethiopia that Davi and I visited, and they have a high number of melanistic leopards, and we're hoping to go back one day and try and see if we can find them. They'll have to adapt behaviorally, because if you're completely black, then you are going to stand out. Black and white are not really the colors you want to be out here, unless you're a zebra, of course, and it's not going to be so easy for a melanistic leopard to blend into the background. So these particular individuals must adapt to the environment around them. So yes, Redstone, it's amazing. Okay, one more loop and then we're off to the den.
they've still been digging a lot. And what I find really exciting is that they also keep looking down the burrow entrance. It's actually the entrance on the burrow on the far right-hand side. I don't even know if we can get a visual. There's just a little meerkat head. It might just be below the level of the camera. I'm not sure there from where I am. But he keeps looking down into the burrow. And that's, I don't want to say it's a definite, that it means that the pups are right there, but there's a strong chance of that. And again, you know, like I mentioned earlier, it's not that the pups will like just wake up one morning and decide, okay, now they're going to go waltz out the burrow. There'll obviously be this gradual movement to and fro, slowly approaching the entrance of a burrow, building up over a couple of days. So it could be that they are close to the entrance over there, and that's why these other meerkats keep on looking down, you know, just keeping an eye on what the pups are doing. But I think we are getting really close to the little guys coming out. So there's an interesting, there's an interesting line of thoughts over there about, and it's a question about color variance in meerkats. And the question is, do we get melanistic versions of meerkats? Now, melanism is not an uncommon thing in nature, and our colleague has just been talking about melanism in leopards. It is rare, but it's known, actually quite and very widespread across Africa and through into Asia. We've never seen that in meerkats. We've also never seen leucism, which is the opposite of melanism. Leucism is not albinism, so it's not like you're getting an albino meerkat, but it's just a prevalence of, they come out with a very, very, very pale color. And whereas melanism is just the opposite of that. We've never seen either of those color variants in meerkats. But on Tswalu, we do get, and where our colleagues are, you get a little bird called the gabar goshawk. Now, melanism in gabar goshawks, again, is not uncommon. In fact, we watched one the other day. Unfortunately, we didn't get it on camera, but we had a melanistic goshawk. I've seen melanistic jackal on Tswalu, and jackal, now these are black-backed jackal, also jackal exhibiting leucism. So very, very, very pale. It's like the silver grey color, kind of like me in some ways, I guess. Just kidding. But and then we've seen melanistic jackals as well, which are strikingly beautiful animals. But both of those color variants, certainly in jackal, would be quite rare, but we have seen them, yeah. And again, I'm always interested in what is that evolutionary background to these color variants, and where do they crop up? Because I mean that then you start asking these bigger questions about habitat changes over time, and I don't mean like fast climate change impacts. I'm talking about like long-term changes of in climatic conditions.
Well, we've just managed to find a slender mongoose that has run away. But if you listen carefully, you can hear a whole lot of birds shouting at it. There, you can hear the rattling testicular. They don't like slender mongooses because slender mongooses will eat just about anything that they can, meat-wise. David's just going to try and get this rattling testicular, which has now flown away. You got him? There's one at the very top of the tree too. Very nice. Lime, they are very good security guards. And, one of the things that we're asked most frequently is, can animals communicate with each other? And the answer is yes, to a large extent. This rattling testicular was making an alarm call, and many other bird species will look and recognize it as an alarm call. Many mammal species will also recognize it as an alarm call. And that is a way that different species actually speak to each other. So there is some mutually intelligible dialect, even across a class. So, I mean, the birds are a whole class of different animals from the mammals, and yet they're able to communicate. I mean, they're not able to have complicated philosophical discussions, but they can say, oh dear, look at that. There seems to be something about to eat one of us, which is what was going on there. We're heading off towards the northeastern corner of Juma, and we're going to see if we can't pick up something at the waterhole there. We haven't found any of our leopard tracks, which we were desperately hoping to. But there is time yet. Beautiful morning. Perfect winter's day here in the Lowveld. Andrea, you say that bird had a fat belly. Well, it looked like a fairly standard issue. Rattling testicular. I don't think it was on the verge of metabolic syndrome or type 2 diabetes. They have got a very pleasantly round shape, though. I will agree with you there. I don't think it was exhibiting any form of excess nutrition. Let's go down to the northern parts of KwaZulu-Natal, to Maputaland, and then beyond Phinda.
Welcome back, everyone. We are still here, still searching. We've come back to our plan from this morning. We were trying to find some cheetah. We've been very lucky, actually, because we come across quite a few number of lines. So now we are back to searching this cheetah. As you can see, this is a very, very nice area where we're checking now. So far, we haven't come across any or even tracks. We've been driving past, seeing a lot of impala around, and they haven't shown any nevers or anything. So we're hoping to come across a cheetah this morning again. So let's stay with us and see what we can find. Remember, whatever comes, we take it. Never say never. Lovely morning. As you can see, we've got a beautiful sun shining now. All the birds are happy, especially for this. Well, cheetah can hunt any time in the day, so long as it's a cooler day, because they don't like to hunting when it's very hot. So, like today, so long as they need to hunt, only depending if how long was the last time to catch anything. So, let's say after 2-3 days, they'll be still looking. They will be still okay. Okay, guys, haven't come across any luck yet for the cheetahs for now, but we'll send you across to Dylan with this meerkat. Enjoy the guys.
I hear some of our colleagues are looking for some cheetah. I really, really hope they get them. I mean, they are incredibly special animals, and with ranges shrinking, year on year, it's always a good species to be able to try and find. So we were incredibly fortunate with that sighting that we had this morning. That's why I was so chuffed to get them. So this little group of meerkats popped down again. One stayed out, and now I see another one's just popping out again. I'm always fascinated about this, like up and down. What is it that drives them to do that? And there's no alarm calls given. There's no raptors that are flying over here that we can see. And I guess that's the key there, is none that we can see. You know, they are operating on a different level to us in terms of sensors. Some of their sensors are maybe the same as ours or worse. You know, I guess their hearing is probably good but not exceptional. But I think their sense of smell and their eyesight, we know, is next level. So you, I missed that question. Would meerkats eat what would they eat? You just asked, would a meerkat eat a rusk? I don't think they would, but I certainly wouldn't recommend trying it. So, yeah. I would never even consider trying that, but I guess that would depend who bakes the rusks. If it was a rusk made of, let's think, like a meerkat rusk, that could be armoured ground crickets, like a light sprinkling of armoured ground crickets, maybe a head of a gecko squished up and mashed into there, some beetle grubs, and we make a really delicious rusk made of insects and other invertebrates. That, I think they'd like that. Thank you, Elizabeth. We have one person on the side of the armoured ground cricket. She says no, not an armoured ground cricket. Speaking of which,
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
We've just come out into these open clearings and we've been greeted with these wonderful views of a few giraffe that are feeding in the tree line. And the ones that we can see are facing right next to one another, almost like they're competing again for that same bush. But there are at least two more that I saw. I can only see one more now, but there is another one. So there's, I think, a total of 4 giraffe that we can see within this small little area here. Really quite nice just to come out into these open areas and again spend 5 or 10 minutes with the vehicle engine switched off and just listen to any noises and the sounds that we can hear around us. All of these giraffe are very relaxed. They're feeding, not really too worried about anything, but it's definitely warming up to be quite a beautiful day. I've stripped off my 15 layers and I'm just down to my final 2. Just see, the thing that I love about a visual like this is that we've got the world's tallest land mammal right next to us, and if you zoom out like Owen just has, look at how the trees around it completely dwarf it. It's a scene that I guess you can only really compare to in Africa. I mean, if a ginormous giraffe looks this tiny, you know that it's just a beautiful expanse of open space that we're watching. It really is quite a beautiful scene. we've been treated recently with quite a lot of giraffe around the reserve. Quite a few males. Yeah. I mean, those two that I mentioned that are feeding are both feeding on exactly the same tree, and if we can have a very close look at them, you might just see they look very, very similar in size. And then if you look at the top of their horns, they've got no hair there. So these are two youngish males. I wouldn't be surprised if the other ones that we can't quite see as well, probably also young males. And so they'll be feeding. I mean, I mentioned a little bit earlier that there was a few elephant bulls that were playing around and almost wrestling, and giraffe males will do pretty much exactly the same thing. And so they'll pair up, size each other up, and they'll practice swinging those long necks of theirs to hit each other and get used to fighting before they need to fight for real. And they wouldn't move too far from here today. If anything, they might continue moving in the tree line towards the water hole. Shinzi's asking how long the tongue is, and it is definitely quite a substantial length. I think outstretched from the face, it's about a ruler length, so they can stick it out to about between 30 and 40 centimeters out of their faces. You don't see it that long very often. The only time that you will see it is if they'll only really stick out their tongue if they really need to reach as high as they can. But before we forget, we'll send you across to another bird at Duma.
Those birds flew away. We are going to try and get a little... It's a starling. The wonderful glossy starlings of the bush. Very common. Have very irritating calls sometimes, to be honest. But that iridescent sheen, there's absolutely no denying that it's stunning. Okay. That one didn't want to play ball, but we do have one up here. Should we go closer, Beaks, or should we stay safe? Play it safe. Let's play it safe for now. I think it's a Bircho starling, the biggest of all the starlings. And it's so remarkable that they're actually black birds. They're not blue and green and purple and all these incredible shades that you see. They're actually black. They don't have any pigment. And it's funny, we've been talking about pigmentation. There's no pigmentation in their feathers. It's the way that they're layered. It's the keratin of the feathers, the way that it's structured, that reflects light differently. So when that sun puts his hat on and comes out to play and shines on the bird, it's the reflection of light that is what we see. And it looks like magnificent blues and purples and greens, but it's actually not. They are black. Can you see one there, BK? Next to the impala and the token wildebeest. Let's just see if we can get one last view before it probably decides to fly away. Knowing our luck. I think they're hungry. That's what's happening. Crested barbet. Shan, the birchos are very large. They're big birds. Not as big as your typical crow, but they are big birds. And I just think it's so incredible when that light falls on the feathers. You get this sparkling array of colours that are not real. It's almost like an optical illusion. Spectacular iridescence. And it's from melanin. There's melanin there. And that's why the bird appears black, due to the melanin. So we're going to do our last little look for Shadulu, as sadly the hyena den was empty.
Yeah, so these little meerkats seem to be in no rush whatsoever to go anywhere. They're doing some unusual grooming going on there. They're always humorous, so it doesn't matter how you look at them. Always good for entertainment. And just to put this in perspective, how far we've come with this group. Chandra, I don't know if you can see these ones on the far right, the two on the back. So that, the furthest one there used to be the most skittish meerkat in this group by a long way. He was super shy. He didn't want to know anything. And now we can actually, I'm standing now 10 yards from them, and he's wary, but he's not like disappearing underground every time you move or talk or anything like that. So we've really come a long way with these meerkats. But while we're on the topic of what do meerkats eat, I'd like to introduce you to someone very, very special, close to my heart. This is Rusk. We've named him Rusk. You can see. We got him walking across the sand in the direction of the meerkats. So, but I think this would be the only kind of rusk that a meerkat should ever be eating. Now he's disappearing. I'm not even going to try do some contortionist trick to get him off me. We'll take him off as long as he doesn't bite me. But yeah, yes. So the hole that I think these pups in, Anna has just said, I'm sure you'll see the pups soon. Thank you, Anna, I appreciate it. This little meerkat that's sitting in the front, speaking of the pups, I think this burrow is where the meerkat pups are. I think, and again, I've got nothing, but just the fact that this little one hasn't budged from that spot for the entire duration of the morning, I think that's going to be the babysitter today, and I think those pups are there. And that's the burrow that they kept on looking down earlier, so let's hold thumbs. If not now, then when? That's getting all deep. But what a privilege spending time with these animals. What a privilege just being out here. And what a privilege it is to be able to share this with you. You know, it doesn't matter what we see, what we don't see. Nancy was talking about rusks and bolt holes. Yeah, I think I'm just going to spend a little bit more time here, and hopefully we'll be up. But you know, if it's not, like I say, if it's not today, it'll be tomorrow, and it's imminent. So thank you for sticking with us on this. I mean, it's such a, like I said, it's such a privilege having you with us on this, and you know, I couldn't think of a better way to spend time than being able to share this with people like yourselves. Have an amazing day further. Please stay safe, stay warm, and we will see you this afternoon, same time, same place rather.